If you think coffee in Australia, you probably think Melbourne, and you wouldn't be mistaken for thinking so. It is what they refer to as the coffee capital of Australia. However, from my little town, Canberra, we actually have our little foot on the map. And there's a good couple of reasons for this. So, we actually house a champion barista. I do not believe we have a world champion barista who has come out of Melbourne. We also have a very high volume of coffee drinkers. These aren't the recreational hipster type of coffee drinkers. These are the proper therapeutical type coffee drinkers. Lots of public servants, lots of tradies, the whole shebang bang. Down in Melbourne, it's a very, very different scene. And from what I understand, they don't have as high a volume per cafe that we do. So I believe that a large cafe down in Melbourne will have 60 kilos a week. Here in Canberra, I personally worked at one cafe that did 90 to 100 kilos a week. We constantly had three baristas on for our morning shifts in a little production line of sorts. And yeah, it was quite the operation. So today I'm going to be going over the five roasteries of Canberra. The five main roasteries of Canberra, I should say. So I'm going to start off with probably the biggest and well-known roaster, and that is Honor Coffee. Honor is special because it is owned by the man who won the 2015 World Champion of Barista. It was a pretty incredible year. He had been competing for about 9 years previously, and he kept on getting the semi-finals of Australia, but kept on getting knocked out by the guy who won in Sydney. So it was, I think, his ninth year after that. He ended up beating the guy in Sydney, went on and won the World Championship. It was a big moment for Canberra Coffee. Like, all of Canberra was celebrating because we just got put on the map. He's got a blend called Raspberry Candy, which is based off the blend that he used to win the championships. So, winning a coffee championship is no small feat. It takes a lot of skill and a lot of practice, and there are a lot of different elements that go into it. So, you have a black coffee, you have a milk-based coffee, and then you also have a specialty drink. He had his own method of I think it was a carbon something or other. I can't quite remember. However, I will be touching on this later. And it was his own little process of making coffee that won him that championship. It was very, very incredible. The second roastery, this is a roastery that I actually worked at back in 2013. It was one of the first proper cafe jobs I had, and a place responsible for giving me most of my insider coffee knowledge as well as training. And that was Cosmorex. Cosmorex is the oldest roastery in Canberra, and volume wise, it is also the largest, or it was back then anyway. I'm not quite sure where it currently stands wholesale, but I do know that they would roast between 1 and 2 ton of coffee a week. Yeah, that's right, ton. In the warehouse, we had lots of these big bags of green beans. We also had a semi-automatic coffee roaster that could roast 5 different blends at once and to the volume of 60 kilos. So it had these different phases that I went through, including a destoner. Destoners are normally only in the larger roasters, and it is always good to have one because it stops little bits of corn and stone from getting in your coffee. Little bits of stone can damage your grinder. So yeah, that was quite the experience. Yeah, they're a family-owned company, and their coffee is a very Italian style. It's a very strong, punchy coffee. And yeah, they've been around for over 50 years. It's currently being owned by the third generation of that family. They are, yeah, definitely one of the staples of Canberra. You'll see them around a lot under the Bean Roaster logo. The third is Lonsdale Street Roasters. I recently worked with their beans at a cafe I just finished up at, and they are very, very hip. Their coffee is very good, and they're also really, really colourful. Their recent rebranding brought them into a big poppy colour light. So they're very widespread as well, and they're a really good middle ground. I would rate them probably the most Melbourne coffee of Canberra. Not only their brand, but also their taste wise. Yeah, Bonsai Street Roasters. They've been around for, I think, probably going on 10 to 15 years. And they're pretty hard set. So the next two are a bit of the smaller niche ones, but again, they are staples in Canberra. The fourth on the list is 2 before 10. I'm lucky enough to live right down the road from the roastery. And it's really, really cool. You go into the cafe, you can get food from there, you can sit down, and there's a big open wall where you can see the roaster. You can see the coffee getting roasted on particular days it does. So they're very eco-friendly and sustainable. They grow lots of food on the gardens of the grounds of that cafe, which basically they use in, little take-home condiments as well as in their food. They've got, I think, about 30 different little agendas that they follow for the goals that company has. And yeah, they're all based around eco-friendliness and sustainability. The fifth is Red Brick. Red Brick is a nice little roastery that caters to the collaborative type of cafe. The good thing about Red Brick, I find, is their branding is very, very simple. And like most of the other roasters that you get that try and push their brands onto the cafe so that the cafe basically piggybacks off their name, Red Brick doesn't do that. They slot in with the cafe. So if you want to see the kind of beans they're using, it's very, very easy to, but it doesn't overshadow the actual character of the cafe that you're getting your coffee from. These are the 5 different main roasteries of Canberra and a little bit about what they're about. So I'll recap. You've got Honor, the specialty, Cosmarax, the Italian, Lonsdale Roaster, the hip, 2 before 10, the eco-sustainable, and Red Brick, the collaborative.